Fairycore. Let's take a deep dive. Hi, it's Hallie, aka Next Wearer, aka underrated fashion superstar. I've been spending a lot of time online lately and I love looking at fashion and online trends. To cut a long story short, I've been seeing a lot of people dressing like fairies. And I'm not talking about this or this.
Where's the flavour? Where's the flavour in this?
I'm talking about this. This is fairycore. It's a popular aesthetic amongst Gen Zs which embodies elements of nature and fantasy. Today I'm going to talk to you about its history, influences, and how to get the look. Let's get into it. Of course, myths of fairies, or fae, have existed in numerous cultures throughout history. The term fairycore, however, originated on Tumblr in the mid to late 2010s. Although it started on Tumblr, the trend has blown up on TikTok. It mainly consists of woodland aesthetics, a distinct fashion sense, and more recently, the TikTok butterfly filter. From taking a deep dive into the style, I think fairycore kind of takes its roots from all eras of history, whether it's the outerwear corset of the 16th and 17th century, or the florals of the 90s. I'm going to be focusing on 3 eras of fashion history: 90s grunge, 2010s soft grunge, and the hippie movement of the 60s and 70s. Grunge. Grunge was a music and fashion movement which came about in the late 1980s but gained popularity in the 1990s. Hailing mostly from Seattle, the grunge movement was spearheaded by the likes of Kurt Cobain, Chris Cornell, and Courtney Love. The movement stemmed from disillusionment and frustration, but also a need to express oneself in new ways. The grunge style was anti-materialistic in nature, focusing less on brands and more on utility and cheapness. It started a popular trend of thrifting for items like flannels, distressed jeans, and floral dresses of past eras. This was usually combined with boots or shoes that were quite utilitarian but were worn down until virtually unusable. Alongside long hair and strewn-on accessories, the grunge fashion movement was often described as fashionably unkempt. The grunge movement later spilled from the ground up to high fashion with shows like Marc Jacobs' 1993 grunge collection. No flavour whatsoever. I think fairycore draws from that fashionably unkempt style and also the ease of thrifting. Funnily enough, I imagine that Gen Z are thrifting a lot of Gen X items from the 90s era. I do feel a need to separate grunge from soft grunge because I feel like both movements were equally iconic in their times. Whilst grunge reached its height in the 1990s, soft grunge reached its height on Tumblr in the 2010s. It's debated who started the soft grunge movement, but it was spearheaded by the likes of Sky Ferreira, Aliane Torture, and Felice Fawn on Tumblr. Its colour palette consisted of blacks, pastel pinks, pastel blues, and pastel purples. It included items like tennis skirts, denim shorts, and flower crowns. I do think soft grunge is coming back, but that's a topic for another video for sure. I believe fairycore applies some of soft grunge's gentleness and cuteness and combines it with the strewn-on feel of grunge. And the hippie movement. The hippie movement emerged from the west coast of the United States, centering in San Francisco from the 1960s through the 1970s. The movement came about from a rejection of
capitalist, conservative, materialist society
in favour of a more bohemian lifestyle. Their style was noted as being eclectic, colourful, and outrageous. In reaction to the mod or business-based restrictive clothing of the era, hippies favoured looser silhouettes with their roots in folk and peasant styles. And a lot of cultural appropriation. This was less good. Hippies were super conscious of the environment, which led to a lot of recycling of their clothes and reducing their consumer habits. I think fairycore takes a lot of fashion notes from the hippie movement, whether it's the silhouettes and styles of particular pieces, or whether it's the sort of environmental consciousness that comes with clothing consumption. Like the hippie movement of the 60s and 70s, fairycore is very much of the earth. This also links nicely to the sort of 2000s items we're seeing people wear as part of the fairycore aesthetic. The early 2000s itself also saw a hippie revival, so this kind of links back to the trend of Gen Z's buying clothes from the 2000s and then wearing them now. The reason why I think fairycore is so popular right now and takes elements of like the soft grunge and hippie movement is the same reason why I think the 2020s trend of cottagecore is so popular. The movement and the fashion that goes along with it comes from a rejection of the stresses of capitalism and a need for escapism and envisioning different worlds. It also incorporates a love of fantasy. Let's talk about it. Fantasy is a key element of fairycore, allowing people to get that ethereal or otherworldly look. This is not to say that this is the only place where we see fantasy in fashion. High-end fashion houses have consistently played on the idea of fantasy. Fantasy is the main facet of what makes couture fashion so unique and interesting. Couture creates looks that don't fit the majority of people's reality. Let's take a look at Dior's Spring 2017 couture collection. Sarah Moore of Vogue wrote of the show, "Couture's ability to transport viewers to fantasy environments is all part of the sense of occasion needed to frame the most incredibly crafted clothes for the most incredibly wealthy." I think this quote highlights the beauty of the clothes, but also indicates that the reason that they're so fantastical is because the majority of people could not afford them. I love that people are taking fantasy away from the very wealthy and into their own hands. Aesthetics like fairycore make fantasy accessible to all. Let's get into some outfit making so I can teach you how to get this look. Okay, welcome to my office. Girl boss vibes, am I right? Gaslight, gatekeep. I have brought you over to my desk because I want to show you some fairycore looks and like how I would style them, the pieces, like what they're called, and possibly what you need to search for if you're like looking online for thrifting and that sort of stuff. Let's get into it. Okay, outfit one. I'm gonna start with like a mesh top base. I don't see a lot of people doing this with like a mesh top. I actually see them like take an old pair of tights and then they cut like a head hole in, and then they use the legs as sleeves, so you kind of get that kind of like grungy ethereal look, but I couldn't find that for this video, so I've gone with a mesh top base. I then paired it with like a prairie skirt. You can find these online everywhere. They had such a revival in the noughties. I have one myself. I got it off eBay. I think they're kind of timeless. Like if this is the sort of thing you like, then you'll probably wear that for a long time. Like it would go with a lot of different aesthetics. I then kind of went in with a green band top. Like I couldn't find one that I liked, but kind of the green or brown like oversized top with this will look really cool. And then I went in with a pair of 90s chunky boots. I see a lot of people pair these sort of soft ethereal looks with very like chunky shoes, which I think is very grunge. So I've gone for a pair of 90s boots and then like a little brown corduroy bag, but I think any bag would be cute. I've got some examples of the kind of look I'm talking about. I see a lot of people do it. That was kind of like a standard look, so I just thought best to talk through it. Look 2. Okay, so for look 2, I've gone for a milkmaid top. They're really popular everywhere, so you won't have that much trouble finding them secondhand from like, you know, ex fast fashion items or more vintage items. I tend to favour the items from like the 80s and 90s just because they're made slightly better. And you can find this sort of stuff on eBay. Like you just need to search, you know, milkmaid top, vintage 90s top, frilly top, that sort of thing, or frilly shirt, frilly blouse. You will eventually find it, even if you just put in like white blouse, short sleeved, ruffles, that sort of thing, it should come up. Then I went in with a green corset. I see a lot of people wearing corsets. There's a corset revival. I'm wearing one right now. I think they're cute. I think I'll wear this in a lot of different ways for quite a few years, so I think it has potential to be quite timeless. And then I've gone in with some white leg warmers. I've seen so many girls wearing these like chunky white leg warmers that kind of look like socks. I think they're super cute. And underneath that you'd probably have like a pair of fishnet or distressed tights. And then I've gone for the chunky 90s bongo shoe because again, you can see the sort of 90s grunge thing coming through, that whole utilitarian look. Also, I think shoes like that, like just super useful, even if you kind of change your style. I think they kind of go with everything. And then I've just got in with a brown cord bag. Yeah, just because it's cute, it matches the colour scheme. Again, it's one of those items that probably go with a lot of different aesthetics. So I think go for it. Here's an example of the sort of corset over the milkmaid top look, or like you could wear the corset with trousers, you could wear it with a longer skirt. You can see the sort of leg warmer and chunky shoe thing here as well. And then again, like you've got that sort of trend of the really patterned trousers, which could also work. I think that's just super cute. Okay, outfit 3, I wanted to go a bit more mature and classic, but kind of stick to the color scheme, just if you're like not fully wanting to commit to this, but you really like the look. So I've gone with like a white blouse that has a little bit of like a bishop or balloon sleeve, but not too intense. You can get those online. I have like 3 or 4 that I got off eBay for really cheap. Again, it's just searching white blouse, maybe put in cotton as well, and just seeing the sort of pieces that come up. I've paired it with kind of slouchy green vest. This is actually my housemate's that I took a photo of. I really like it. And then I've paired it with like a grey sort of wide leg suit trouser and some Doc Marten 1461s. Again, like you can see that's quite a standard look, but it's giving Peter Pan vibes. Like I feel like it's fine. For my last look, I wanted to go again like a bit dressier, a bit more general, but still kind of fitting the vibe depending on how you style it. I think all these pieces could, like, if they were all in one wardrobe, they'd all go together quite nicely as well. And I like to think about the versatility of items, so you're not just like buying something because it suits one outfit and nothing else, because that's a waste. For outfit 4, I've gone with this sort of ruched slip dress, and this is from Mugler, I think, but you don't need to get a designer one. Like I see these all over the place. You just search ruched, you know, slip dress, ruched dress, it'll come up on Depop or eBay or everything else. So I've paired it with a green cardigan, and the pivotal thing about these cardigans is that it has the kind of gap bridging the button and the other side. I think that's such a fairycore thing, and it's also just on trend right now. I don't think it's that much of a statement for it to not be timeless, so if you wanted one of these, I think go ahead and get one. Like you'll just wear it forever. I've then added like a brownish red leather jacket. I think this blazer coat thing isn't going away, so if you want one, I suggest you get one because they go with lots of stuff. Like I think it's a good throw over, but it also has that sort of slouchy grungy look of the 90s too. Then I added some Doc Martens church boots, but you could go with any shoe really. I just wanted something like a bit chunkier, but maybe less aggressively chunky or less aggressively 90s. And then I added like a white skinny scarf because I'm kind of petitioning for those to be back. I like them. What do you think? Anyway, thanks so much for watching my video. I really love styling, I really love fashion, I really love internet trends, and I love pop culture too. So if you're interested in that sort of stuff and like listening to me ramble, then please hit subscribe and give this video a like. Girl bosses only, am I right? Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.